Good morning, masters, and good afternoon, masters. Hoping everybody is doing well and ready to listen to the story. So we were listening to the story where we were at the part where Ravan was playing mind games with Sita Mata. And so Rishi Ansuya, the sage Ansuya, has seen that Ravan's mental manipulation were wearing Sita down. And so now she teaches Mata that it's time to give back what he is giving. So whatever we give up, we get it back. He was giving out negative energy. And so Mata has to play the same mind game, not give negative energy, but play the same mind game and, try to bring him to the right path. So Ansuya Rishi also told Mata that she is entering a new phase for this in the effort to awaken Ravan. And for that, she needs to, play the same role as what Ravan is playing, basically playing the mind games. You have been on the defensive, resisting his mental attacks. Now you must strike out in the same manner, sage Rishi Ansuya. As Ram performs the outer work, you must do the inner work. As Ram would get closer, Ravan will get desperate to assault you mentally. So that's the how low Ravan went to, degrade, like try to get Mata that, okay, Ramji is coming closer. Before he enters Lanka, Sita should be mine. So for that, in that effort, he will go very low on his efforts. So the only way to reach him now is through his sleep. Unlike you, he can do without sleep. So Mata was not sleeping. While she was in Lanka, she did not sleep, she did not eat or drink anything because she got that Amrit from Parvati Ma. And you reach him when he is asleep, says Ansuya Rishi, and when his guard is down, I will show you how to enter his mind. Both sat in meditation, and when she opened eyes, the Rishi Ansuya had left. As soon as the sun came, Ravan arrived, expecting to find a distorted Mata, because remember last session we told you how that he had created an illusion that Mata's parents had died, and so he thought that okay, Mata must be crying and mourning about the loss of her parents, but but instead he found her sitting very calmly under the Ashoka tree. So and he says. So you are not even a good daughter now. Your parents died and you are just sitting down very calmly. And Mata just laughed and said, you are trapped in your own world. You are trapped in my world and there is no he laughed at Mata and he says, you are trapped in my world and there is no escape. Mata says, I know it is your illusion that you're trying to create and you are trying to deceive me, but I know what it is. And so Sita just says, it's not my duty to end your illusions of power. The duty belongs to Ram. I am just going to create everything in my power to calm you down, but I cannot end your illusions. The only way his illusions are going to end is when he dies, when he is killed by Ram. Ravan left. And a couple nights later, he had a dream where abused women appeared in his dream, calling out for justice. And so it was night after night. And then these women that he had abused were, asking for justice, and he couldn't sleep. Those nightmares kept him awake. And lack of sleep is affecting his mind. What happens to a normal person like us if we don't sleep 2 nights in a row? Even though he's a meditator, okay, let's say he was a very big yogi, as we all say, that he could have not slept 10 days, 11 days, but after so many nights, it was wearing him off. If one night we don't sleep because if our children are little, they're keeping us awake, the toddlers or the babies, we don't sleep. Remember those days, the other day would be like, okay, mama, I'm not doing anything around the house. You take care of everything. So with him, it was very hard. For after a couple nights, he couldn't do without the sleep. 2 weeks had passed. Ravan did not come to meet Mata. Lack of sleep was even affecting him during the daytime. Finally, he went to her and he says, you need to stop those magical powers you are creating for me. So now what does he do? He is blaming Mata for his situation. And Mata just sitting down quietly, not responding to him. And there was a protective shield that was created from the women of Ayodhya. The meditation power, the circle of energy that had created was saving Mata from Ravan. That night, his best efforts could not stop him, and all the bodies were coming, dead bodies, women bodies, everything was coming in his dreams. Instead of being haunted by the past, he found himself in front of Narayani. And Narayani is telling him, your deeds have taken you away from Vaikuntha. Let go of your anger, your lust, your jealousy, your thirst of power. Awaken your heart with love. So Mata is trying to, what Ravan was doing was scaring her. But Mata is trying to show him the past and trying to tell her, this is not what you were. Your lust, your hunger of power had brought you to this point. Don't blame me for this. You are the, see, we all are responsible for our own karmas. You all know what boomeranga is. Like, it's like a toy. It's a triangle toy that you throw and it comes back to you. I was listening to this very good show yesterday. So we and the seeds, when we sow a seed, we don't know if the plant is going to come in 4 months, 5 months, or a year, right? Like the mango tree becomes a tree after a few years. So that's how our karma is. If we do something bad, we don't know when it's going to come back to you. The boomerang comes right back. But the seed plant, you don't know when it's going to come back. So karmas are like that. If you do something good, it will come back to you. If you do bad, it comes back to you too. So Mata is trying to tell him, like, this is not who you were. You need to change. And so he was so not ready to listen to Mata, even when Mata is trying to teach him something nice. So he was very disturbed by his dreams. So he had no choice. And so what does a child do when they're tired or frustrated about something? He goes to his mother. His mother's name was Kakeshi. And Kakeshi tried to tell Ravan to the son, Kakeshi was the mother. So he told, she tells her son that, Sita is no ordinary woman. What you had abducted before was simple women, princesses, queens, and here and there, other people's wives, normal, your population, general population, but this is no ordinary woman. And she has basically entered into your brain. And she's a very powerful. I'll give you some protective shield when all fails. So now mother is also, instead of teaching him something right, she is also teaching him then what to play against. If she was a good mother, what would you say? You are doing something wrong by abducting another person's wife. That's a maha bad thing, very bad thing to do it. So the more Mata meditated, and she barely opened her eyes, Rama's desire was growing that I should make her my own. One day he lurched at her and tried to break all the protective shield with his sword. For the first time, Mata felt that she was in a physical danger. As Mata saw him lurch, and she had no time to respond, but who responded? All these Rishi sages responded. All these Rishi sages that I was been talking about. Mata Lopamudra, who was a Rishi Agastya's wife, and she came from the ethers. And Rishi Lopamudra was also renowned author of hymns in Rig Veda. So she was not any ordinary Rishi. She was very renowned author of hymns of Rig Veda. So Rishi Lopamudra transformed into many strokes of lightning, released him across the garden and carried him off. Mata folded her hands in gratitude as she felt that she is taken care of by a Rishi. Rishi Lopamudra now told her that your attention needs to keep on focusing on the inner world while Ram is taking care of outer battle. And the balance of the worlds depends on this battle. And he will be trying to again and again try to attack you with physically or mentally. You have to be very careful. That's what Rishi Lopamudra tells Mata. And she also said that the army is ready, and she wishes Ramji a great success. That is the end of chapter 15. We started the chapter last week, so that's why we finished very fast in the beginning of the session. So now we start chapter 16, the inner battle. As the days passed, Ravan's threats were increasing, and so was his desperation. On top of everything, he's scared to sleep because of all those bodies all the women, they were coming in his sleep. The very thought that a woman could outfit him, and he could not bear it. One day he created another illusion. This time he created an illusion that he killed Ram. Before he even reached Lanka, he created an illusion for Mata that he has killed Ram. Mata sat into meditation. She projected that nothing is affecting her. But seeing her husband's dead head, like just the head of the husband, just shook her to the core. But Mata just, pretended in front of Ravan that any illusion that he is creating is not affecting her. Mata tried to tell him, you have to return to your home, the place you always wished to be. And but he was very upset, and he threatened to kill Sita. And Mata said, "You may take this body, but this body is not who I am." After this conversation, Mata felt that she has really awakened something in Ravan's head. Mata continued, "You were born with a great potential and could have achieved much for humanity. That was the purpose of your birth, to your gifts, but instead you created a whole different person in your life. But you're caught in your own illusions." And Mata had begun transmitting to Shri Ram whatever she had learned. So with their telepathy, with their meditation powers, whatever Mata had learned from Trijata and all these diminuses, they were around Mata, like how strong his army is or which area is his weak side. All these pointers, Mata was giving it to Ramji while through the meditation. Basically, all the strengths and strategy of Ravan were transmitted by Mata to Ramji. She also conveyed to him her distress over the death and destruction that war would incur. Always, Mata always is scared of the war because she is Dhartima. So Ram had reached Lanka and he tried to prevent the war, but he would not listen. Through her inner eye, she saw that Shri Ram is standing on Lanka's shore, looking sorrowfully over the kingdom. And because Ramji is like, "Oh, this is such a pretty place, such a nice, wealthy place. And what is going to happen after a few days when the attack's going to happen? Both the parties are going to attack. All the weaponry, will be used. A lot of people will be killed." So Ramji was in distress as well as Mata was. And his Ramji could feel Mata's pain, and Mata could feel Ramji's pain. His was the outer role and hers was the inner one for this battle. They had to work in harmony. She had to be attentive to every detail. The day of fighting began. The dark hung like the thick wet on all over the place. Ravan's top generals were killed, including his son and the higher, Indrajit. The pain was unbearable for Mata. When she felt bodies falling on the ground, whether it's Ravan's people or Ramji's people, the pain was same because Mata is Dhartima, she's the earth, she's Vasundhara. So she felt the same pain. At one point, remember, Mandotri had said, "How would you know? You're not a mother. Indrajit is my son. How would you feel the pain?" But Mata felt that pain because she is Mata. One day, sun was setting, and that's when Trijata came and told Mata that Lakshman's life is in danger. Mata sat in meditation with her spiritual eye. She saw Lakshman in pain. The words of Sarup Nakha had returned to Mata's memory that you will die a painful death. Remember when Lakshman had chopped the nose of Sarup Nakha and she had cursed him. So this is the time when the curse is coming, is being fulfilled by what Sarup Nakha has said. Wave of fire had felt Mata's spine coming up because Mata was very upset. Upset is a very small word. Mata was furious, I should say, when she saw Lakshman's life in danger because Lakshman was a right hand. He was everything to Ram. And if something had to happen to him, Ramji would have lost control of everything. And Mata was not going to give in to that. So what she does is, this is not anywhere I have read, but this is only in this book and it's very impressive and it gives me the reasoning why Mata died so early. So Mata took a form of a light form, and when she reached there in the battlefield, she saw Yam Devta, death god, coming and lurking over Lakshmanji. She fought with Yam Devta that you cannot take Lakshman. And Yam Devta said, "If I am here, once the death warrants have been issued and I am here to get a body, I will take a body. So no matter what you do." So they both have a very furious fight, Mata and Yam Devta. And finally, they come to an agreement. Whatever I ask, will you give me? He says to Mata. Mata says, "Whatever you ask, I will give you as long as you give me Lakshman." So instead, to give life days of Lakshman, Mata gave her days of life to Yamdev. So they had an even exchange. And so Lakshman got cured. And by then, we all see in the movies that how Hanumanji brought the medical herb and he was cured. And when Lakshman woke up, the first thing he says, "Where is Bhabima?" And Ramji said, "She's not here." He goes, "No, I felt her presence. She was here." And Lakshman was cured. And Mata came back from her light body back to the Ashoka tree. that Mata's Hanuman had returned, and as I said, Lakshman had opened his eyes, and he asked, but nobody knew about what had happened between Yam Devta and Sita Mata. There was a turning point for Mata. Her energies were depleting, but the battle was almost over. Nobody knew about this incident with Yam Dev aside from Hanuman. Mata never spoke about it. Only year before Mata left this world, that Parvati Mata told Ram why Mata has to leave her body sooner than Ramji. Soma asked Mata. She said she did not know what a mother is supposed to do for her child. So when Ramji asked Mata, why did you give your life to Lakshman? She says, this is what I did because I'm a mother, because she's a mother to everybody. By relationship, he's a brother-in-law, but she's a mother to everybody. Soma stops her story, and as the tears are flowing from her eyes, she's not able to speak. And she says, there's so much about Mata that nobody knows. Her work was unseen, hidden from the world, but she was content. She kept lot to herself, and she wanted it that way because she wanted that her true work to preserve this way. World takes place away from the eyes and ears of a humankind. Both armies suffered a lot of loss. Living creatures had been killed. Plants, everything was, killed, hurt in some way or the other. It was not now time for Shri Ram to face Ravan. During her time in Lanka, Mata had done her best to penetrate the deep recesses of Ravan's brain. But in the end, Ram had to take care of him. Mata described like this. She was when she was in meditation, she felt a tremendous burst of love rush over her, and the love was pouring out, gushing of fountains. And that's when she felt that Ravan is dead. The Ram shot the final arrow on Ravan, and his spirits had been free. And as he lay down on the ground, he asked Ram, "Can I go back to my celestial world? Am I good to return back?" Ramji said, "No. One more birth you need to come back to, one more birth you have to take to come back, to get free from your lust and pride and completely uproot your ego, and your ego needs to be dissolved completely. Then only you can come back to your celestial world." So the next birth, as I mentioned, Krishna will come, and he will be there in that birth when Krishna is in the same time. Mata knew that moment the battle was over. At that exact time, the Amrit that had sustained her stopped flowing. As she began to emerge from meditation, the wave of love replaced a great bowl of fire. That's how they found Mata sitting in a great ball of fire. And Lakshman called out in panic, thinking that Mata was burning alive. And Ramji stopped her, and he said, "She's consuming all the impurities of this place and the effects of the war." And so that's why we see in the movies, in the Ramanand Raman Sagar and all that the Mata is burning, and they think that the original woman is coming and all that. But this is what the book says, that Mata is observing all the negative impurities. The fire in the heat of her tapasya, let it burn, Ramji said. The fire that withdrew back into her body and subsided finally. At that moment, that fire that she had burnt in Ayodhya, where Soma and all, Meenakshi and all were that little fire that she had burned, where they were being connected, that fire went out. At that point, Soma says, "I don't know. I knew the battle was over. But I don't know whether it was a victory or death." So there was a question mark for Soma. So Soma was very sad that day because she didn't know what the result of the war was. After the flames absorbed into Mata's body, she felt the presence of Shri Ram, and as soon as she tried to get up to touch Ramji's feet, the Amrit had stopped. She hadn't eaten for such a long time, so she fainted. Ramji carried her into the palace, and as promised, she took her first food from Mandodari. Remember, Mandodari had brought her the food, and she said, "I'm not going to take the food, but I promise you, the first time ever I will eat it from your hand." So Mata was being a Mata of everyone. She always kept her promise. Sooner or later, she would come and complete her promises. Before they left Lanka, Mata and Mandodari cooked and arranged the feast for all the people of Lanka, feeding people and healing people. That's what Mata did. She put herbs in the food so people would heal. Because, a lot of, what does war bring? Somebody's losing their son, somebody's losing their husband. A lot of people, everything was hurt in that war. And before she left, she also paid regard to the Ashoka tree that for being her companion in the hard times. Soma sees a lot of rishis are coming together to listen to the story. And of course, what she does is she has to give them food. Soma loves to cook as much as Mata did. And Ansuya says, my mother, Ansuya and the mother wanted to just sit quietly and eat and absorb all the story. And so they sat down quickly and then they retreated for the night back to their hut. So that ends my chapter 16. I'll take my water break before I start chapter 17. Excuse me. So chapter 17 is the return to Ayodhya. These chapters are really small, but as we go to the last two chapters, that last two chapters is like going to probably take 2 sessions each chapter. They're very big chapters. So return to Ayodhya is chapter 17. Ansuya and her mother were silenced. They were not very hungry that morning, and they were very exhausted with all the emotions. And they were thinking how Maharani would be, dealing with all the situation. Perhaps our Maharani was with them all this time, and she says, I could remember my heart was filled with love for Sita Maharani, but meeting Soma, Ansuya says, has opened all the qualities of love, because see, what I know of Sita was very simple, oh, poor fragile woman. But after reading this book, I know a different perspective of Sita. That's how Ansuya is feeling right now. The love has changed, the level of love and respect has changed, from a simple fragile woman to, oh wow, how powerful woman she was. So that's the love she's feeling. So next morning, Ansuya again leaves to go visit with Soma, and her mother says, it's when are we going to tell it's time that we have to go, and so when we are going to figure it all this out, whether you want to ask her about the marriage or not. This was the whole purpose of their visit, and the story went on a totally different direction. And Ansuya's mother was like, should I ask her or not? But she could see that Soma's magic was already working on Ansuya. So when they reached to Soma, she asked, Ansuya's mother asked Soma, so tell us, how come Mata came to this place where you are staying? How did Mata ended up in this place? So then she starts her story. She says when Sita and Ramji had left Lanka, first stop was to pray and while coming back. So now they're coming back from Lanka. The first stop they made is where Ramji and they had gathered their army. So at that river point. I'm going to take a different direction in this. I did a lot of research on this. The day the war was supposed to start, Ramji wanted to pray Shivji and seek his blessings. And since this was going to be a Mahayagya. Mahayagya means a bigger scale of Havan. He wanted a very renowned priest. So Jamvan was a bear in the army. What I researched is he was a candidate sent by Brahma to help Ramji with the war. So now Jamvan's father and Ravan's father, they were very good friends. And Jamvan, of course, knew that Ravan, we all know actually that Ravan was a very renowned priest also. And in this jungle, Ramji said, can you find me a priest? Jamvan said, the only person that I can find is Ravan. And so he went Jamvan went as a representative to ask whether, not as a representative of Ram, but just to see if you can be a priest for my host. So Jamvan, when Ravan finds out that Jamvan is coming, oh, my father's son is coming, my father's friend's son is coming. So he wanted all the military and everything, and he was very nicely welcomed. So he meets with Ravan and he says, at this point, he doesn't know that Jamvan is coming from Ram's side. So Jamvan says, I have this person who wants to do a Mahayagya. Will you become the priest? And then he asks, who is this person? So he says, it's Ram, and he wants to do a Mahayagya. And would you be coming? Can you become the priest? He says, sure, I will come. And he agrees to come. And Ravan knows that no Havan, no big Mahayagya or puja cannot be done without the wife. So he brings Sita to that point too. He brings Sita with him back to the. Now, some places I say that this story has been sent out by Ravan's followers, they want to say, oh, Ravan was such a nice person. And some people say Valmiki's Ramayana doesn't say that. But I thought it was an interesting twist that you should know. And it's up to you to decide whether you want to believe it or not. So Ravan brings Sita with him. And he says, and he doesn't tell Ramji that I brought Sita with you. So he goes, okay, let's sit down for a Havan. And then he says, but I don't have my wife. So he says, no worries, I brought your wife with you. And the Havan is done, conducted by Ravan. So obviously, when you seek blessings, what would you say? They say, what the priest will say, okay, what are you seeking blessings for to win the war? And he says, Tathastu. Ravan says, Tathastu. So basically, he is giving in to Ramji by saying Tathastu means, yes, your wish is full granted. That's what Tathastu means. So that's one story that I read. And another one I heard was that they needed a shivling for the puja. And so Hanumanji was sent by Ramji to bring a certain shivling. And Hanumanji took a while to bring it, and Ravan was like, the certain, the auspicious time is passing by. So they made a mud kind of a shivling with the sand around the river bank. They made the shivling. So when Hanumanji came, his ego was too big that he did not believe that, oh, I went so far and you made another shivling. Why don't you pray for my shivling? So Ramji tried to teach Hanumanji a lesson. He says, okay, try to move it and bring it closer. So they say that at that location, there's two shivlings, one that Hanumanji brought and one shivling that I don't know how true that story is, but it was interesting, as I say. So I wanted to share it. And so there's a sand one that they actually prayed on it. And Ravan had said Tathastu, so that's how he lost the war. So now back to our story. So far, so good. Okay. So Soma says that first stop was to say thank you at the spot where they had prayed for the Mahadev to win the war. And that's where the miraculous bridge was built to get to Lanka. And the second stop that they made was at Panchvati. And in Panchvati, there was a Rishi Chandrika, remember, whose whose husband was being lured by Sarup Nakha. Yes. So Rishi Chandrika. And so now she's become Rishi. So now she's considered a Rishi, not like a distraughted woman who had been left by her husband, not wailing, not crying. She's much calmer. Her meditation had really affected her. So now she's considered Rishi Chandrika. And Mata found her in a very different, in a very better situation now. And Mata had promised her that I'll come visit you, but that day Ravan had abducted her. So now she's giving her, returning her promise by visiting her. So Mata says, you will have a son in few years, but I'm a widow. How can I have a son? And Mata then explains her that there will be a small boy who will be wandering around and you will find him in the forest and you will take care of him. So Mata says the one who abandoned you will now find himself abandoned by his own mother. And this boy, you will take care of him and raise him like a son. So basically her husband, Chandrika's husband, has taken a new body, new form in the form of a child. And this child will be abandoned by his own mother that has given birth, and Chandrika will raise him. And Mata says, raise him like a son. There is much love in your heart that needs to find fulfillment. Shower it on him and raise him like your own. I will find him again, she says. She was very happy to know that her husband is coming in another body and she'll take care of him. And Ramji is standing there and looking and, seeing that love that both the women are talking about. And then Ramji does something really nice and grateful. Excuse me. He says, Chandrika, I need a water break, sorry. He says, Chandrika, I saw you as a source of energy, and you were a source of a pillar for Sita while she was in Lanka, in Ravan's captivity. And I want to say thank you for all you have done for Sita. And Chandrika, all she does was full of tears. Her God is standing in front of her. What else she would do? All crying with happiness. And Soma says there was a great celebration. After that, they came back to Ayodhya. There was a great celebration, a very time of joyful. But I see what Soma had seen, that a long journey and a tapasya had taken a lot of toll on her. Her beauty had become mature, but she was always she didn't want, she was not like chulbuli, chulbuli means like on the go running cute little girl. She was not like that anymore. She has grown up a lot. She was much calmer, less talkative. um, Meditation has changed her in a different fold. 14 years was a long time that she was gone, and she had went through a lot. Finally they became a king and queen after a big ceremony. 14 years had also brought a lot of changes in Ayodhya. Markets were not safe. Women could not wander in the market by themselves. This was a reality that Mata was having a hard time facing. And especially with all the time she has spent in the forest, she did not understand why this was happening to these people, why people were changing. One day, Mata and Shri Ram were in a chariot, and Mata saw at one of the stalls a man was trying to purchase a medicine for her mother, for his mother. Mata made the chariot stop, and she went to that man and she says, the herbs that you're looking is not the right herb. She went all the way down to the river. She took the man, and so the people, the guards, the bodyguards of Mata was like, should we go follow her? Ramji said, no, she knows everything. She can handle things herself. So basically Ramji and the bodyguards, they waited at the chariot while Mata went with that man and brought the herbs that she needed to cure his mother. And Mata said, when your mother is well enough, tell her to come meet me in the palace. And some weeks later, a woman comes to the palace, but the guards shoot her away and says, no, you need to come in the office hours. Basically, come in during when the palace hours are open to talk to the king and the queen. And when Mata finds out, she dresses up. Mata dresses up as a maid, and she goes to meet that lady. Okay, and so when Mata knocked on the door, the son opened the door, and he was shocked to see Queen dressed up in the maid's outfit on the door. And he says, he says, please come in. So she goes in and she says, how's your mother feeling? So when the old lady finds that the queen is in her little house, she tries to stand up, and Mata says, what is your name? And as soon as she says, Abita is my name, Mata was overwhelmed. She knew that name was somewhere. We will find out soon what it was. So tears fall into Mata's eyes, and she could not speak for a bit. Finally, she spoke, and she says, Abita, when I was in Lanka, I could hear your chants, your prayers for me. I saw you at the river, at the sacred Saryu Nadi. At all pre-dawn hours, you and other women, you were the one who started this ritual. Where this shield was built, where she was saved because of this shield from Lanka, from Ravan. So Abita says, Maharani, I'm just your servant doing my duty. Abita, your strength was really needed when I needed the most in Lanka. And Abita was very overwhelmed at this point. Mata tells her that you will have a grandson, and you will have much to offer him. He will love you very dearly, and he will carry forward your love. This son is the one who is Ansuya's prospective groom. Are we getting the connection? Okay. Then taking her hand in her own, Mata squeezed them, and with a broad smile, stood up to leave. As she was approaching the door, Mata suddenly turned back. But before she turned back, she held her necklace, that pendant, silver pendant that we were all talking about all this time. That silver pendant was given to Mata while she was leaving by her own mother. She holds her tightly like, okay, I'm ready to give. This is the last time I'm going to feel her. So she holds her, and then she takes it off her neck and she gives it to Abita. And she says, give this to your grandson. When you feel he's at the right age, give this to your grandson. And it will make him very happy, and it will make me happy. And he says, Maharani, this is my honor that you will give me this and give it as a gift from my grandson, but I cannot take it. Mata literally takes her hand and she presses, no, please keep it. Soma is very confused about this exchange. Why is Abita getting Mata's, it's a precious memory. It was her mother's locket. She should give it to her daughter-in-law or somebody in her family, not this old lady who she barely knows. And but she doesn't ask anything. But they knew that it was time for them to go because they were all dressed up in the maid's outfit, and they had to reach the palace before Ramji wakes up. Mata was trying to cross the streets of Ayodhya, and Mata got distracted as the sun was coming and her head was covered because they were trying to hide their faces. And at this moment, she accidentally bumped into somebody, and this man was very rude. He tried to kick Mata. He didn't know anybody. It could be anybody. He should not have kicked. Mata fell, and he tried to kick her like, you cheap ladies and, you servants of the palace, can't you be careful? So he yelled and tried to kick Mata. And Soma quickly picks up Mata and they quickly reach the palace. When they are in the room and they change the clothes, Mata was very upset and Soma was upset. And Soma goes, he should have apologized. Mata says, it rather be me than somebody else. But what is happening in Ayodhya is not right. Disrespect to the women, it should not be there. And at this point, when they both are alone, Soma couldn't hold herself anymore. And she says, Mata, why did you give that pendant to that lady? And Mata explains her that this woman is not any ordinary woman. And this is why first she wanted to return her love that she had given her. And Mata says that she served in the household of Ayodhya, household of Raja Janak very faithfully, but she died at a very young age. Her husband was the one who was not faithful, and he had mistreated a guest. Remember Meenakshi? So basically, this lady she's a great grandmother of Meenakshi. And why was Meenakshi cursed? Meenakshi got a curse because one of her ancestors had showed the lust part to a guest in the house, and so Rishi had cursed one of them. So it was her husband, Abita's husband, and so in the previous birth. So Abita's, and so there was no place for them to go. And so Abita's Abita in the previous birth, her husband had been not looked at, was killed, and because people were, was cursed. He was cursed because he was not nice to the guest in the house, somebody's daughter. He was not nice. So she had nowhere to go. So she took her only son and she came to Raja Janak's place. So she faithfully worked as a maid in household of Raja Janak, and then she died, and then she took a birth in Ayodhya. Her love for Mata had literally followed her soul, had followed her wherever Mata went. She kept on taking birth after wherever Mata. When Mata was in Raja Janak's household, she was serving there, before Mata was born, and then she died there. And then she took birth because she knew Mata was coming. So her love was so strong for Mata that she always followed Mata wherever she went. And then she was born in Ayodhya, but her devotion to my family never ceased. She has no memory of any of this. And yet that vow that she had taken, that she would want to love and respect Mata and Raja Janak's family all this time, has made her come to serve me again and again. And she has taken so many births just to serve me. Her devotion did not die. This is the power of love. Soma, Mata says, it is carried from one generation to another, from one birth to another. And Soma was stunned. And she says, was she the ancestor of Meenakshi? And Mata acknowledged, yes, she was a great grandmother who had to suffer her husband's curse, although she had done nothing wrong. It had touched very deeply to Ansuya. And Mata says, that's why I gave her my most precious possession. And Mata says, love in any relationship, it could be a mother and a child, any relationship. Love is not a stream that flows one way. It must flow in both directions to flourish. The love she gave to Janak's family, and that we returned to her, and her descendants continued to flow through her prayers by the river. And because of those prayers, I was always safe in Raja during Ravan's exile. I came to meet her to acknowledge and return that love. This is a cycle of the love that sustains us. And that is how the universe works. All the universe, as I said, boomerang, everything. Love and hatred works both ways. You give somebody a love, you will get love. You give somebody hate, you will get hate. Soma is still trying to absorb. Soma keeps on talking, and Ansuya is still trying to absorb all this information. And then that day, a public audience was held, and Soma tells the Ansuya and her mother that day public audience was held, and that time a citizen came and he says, Raja Ram, we heard that there's a rumor that Maharani is walking down the streets in the form of a maid. Is that true? Instead of answering that, Raja Ram came on other way. I hear rumors that there was a merchant who tried to kick a woman. I need to know who that merchant was. So of course it was that merchant. So he shunned and he just changed the topic. And because Ramji did not wanted to tell his people that yes, Mata goes wandering around in the streets in the form of the maid. It doesn't give a, and that's something privacy they want to keep maintained from Mata. And Ramji gives a whole lecture how it's very rude, not very rude for how the merchant did, and it was not nice for, and nobody, and he even mentioned that nobody even helped to try to bring that woman up on her feet when she had fallen down, and this is very disrespectful. So Ramji tried to give a good lecture to his people that this was not the right thing to do. Months had passed. Mata did not leave the palace much after this episode. She felt confined but never spoke. Only, and we all saw the love that had been blossoming between the two of them. Soon the good news came that Mata was carrying the church. Mata was pregnant, and that love increased a lot. Mata's child was a greater joy to serve for everybody. Soma stops her story and she sees more rishis coming. She saw Ansuya had a question. So Ansuya's question is a very important question, and I want you guys to listen very carefully. She says, Soma, now I know who Abita is. So I know who Meenakshi is, but I still am curious who Meenakshi is. So Soma still doesn't tell Ansuya that you are Meenakshi, but Ansuya is still curious. She's trying to put all the puzzle pieces together. Ansuya noticed that Soma is looking at her, and her eyes are fixed at her, but she says, it's not important, my child. You just need to know that Meenakshi was somebody from Mithila. She was someone who loved Mata very much. That is all you need to know. And that was the end of, this is my end of the chapter, and they both go down for that night retreat. My next chapter, I'll start next week. It will be chapter 18, Retreat to the Forest. Thank you for listening to me. And if you guys have any questions, the floor is open for you guys.
Okay, Surbhi ma'am, I just have a question. Yes. As like you said, right, Sita Mata is given her life, to Yamadevata, she fight it. So yeah, that I agree. But that time, did she say like, I will give my life after she's born?
Yes, not after kids are born. She just gives the time. There's no time period. So, in that time, you will hear it in the future chapters, how the stars are aligned when the death is near. So before that, they will have a celestial wedding. Everybody from all the gods and goddesses will come, and they have a celestial wedding on the earth. So she did not say that I will let go of my body after I give birth to the kids. But she gives her So she just says, I will give part of my life, or so whatever, certain years of my life. So she dies very young. We all know the kids were only, I believe, if I put a ballpark on their age, they were only 10, 12 years old. Yeah.
Okay. That's true. But what we heard from Ramayan's story, like, when she is in the forest, when she is pregnant, Ramji sent it, and then she prayed Dharti Mata, like, as soon as
No. This book says totally different, and in Ramananda Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, they also say that Ramji totally does not visit her, or nothing of that sort happens. Ramji goes and visits her. He has all the interaction with the kids while they're growing up. So this was a partial separation for them, and we will hear why they have a partial separation. There's another story. This is also part of a curse. It's a curse, as well as a wish that Mata wanted to raise her kids the way she was raised in the forest. Because see, the palace life, they can easily to retain. From palace to forest life is very hard. From forest to palace life is very easy, because forest life is always hard. So that's why Mata wanted her kids to be raised in an open area, forest area, learn the nature, learn the herbs, everything, the way, love the animals. And she even lets the kids talk to the animals as the way she did. So that was her wish. So her wish and the curse, they both aligned at the same time. And there will be rishis who will remind her all this, that there's a curse that you and Narayan took. She took it as a Narayani, and Narayan was a Ramji in the previous birth. So you guys acknowledge that curse from Rishi Bhrigu. Rishi Bhrigu had cursed Ramji, which is Narayan. And this is the time that you have to take the curse. And she says, I'm pregnant. She touches her belly and she goes, I'm pregnant. And so Rishi Khyati will remind her that you wish for it. that you wanted to raise. So your curse and your wish is coming true at the same time.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. Thank you, Manoj sir. Thank you, Sushma ji. You can bring your son, Lavanya. We will all have to say hello. I think he's missing you. You've been gone for a little too many days.
Yes.
Thank you, Varaji. Thank you, Rama. Thank you, Chandana ji. Thank you, Madhavi. Thank you, Vanjana. I hope I said your name right, Vanaja.
Vanaja, ma'am. Yeah, yes.
Vanaja. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful session, Surbhi ma'am. It's really lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
How many times we'll listen this one? Keep on.
I know.
Feel like keep on listening to this.
Listening, yes. I have read this book 10 times, but I still feel like I should read it more. Every time, because Patni sir says that the more you read, and when you read, your perspective changes the way at the point your life is and during your meditative state. So I think every time you're growing, so your perspective also changes. So that's how I enjoy the book every time I read it. I'm already reading a book on a PSSM Global as well.
Yeah. Even like when you are stressed or when you are a little bit disturbed or something, people always say that go and sit in a park or somewhere.
Yes.
Sit on the ground is even better. Touch the soil. It all heals up. Like
yes,
so true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you guys are amazing. Getting up Sunday morning, doing the session. I'm like really proud of you. On a Sunday morning, don't ask me.
You're doing pretty good, actually.
my timings is okay. Mine is after evening time, 5 o'clock. Sundays I cannot get up at 7, but weekdays I get up at 4. I have a session I do Monday, Friday I do Gujarat Kids in India, so I get up very early to do that.
You are in India now?
No, I am in Virginia, USA, but I conduct sessions for kids in Gujarat.
All right.
Yeah, meditation PSSM Gujarat sessions.
Oh, okay.
So for that, I get up very early.
Okay. Yeah, unless we have some functions or something, normally we don't miss Sunday morning sessions.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, Lavanya. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjan ma'am. Yes, Rama ma'am, go ahead.
No, I'm fine. Just, I'm just listening your stories, watching you guys. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. That's no doubt about it. The way you guys are,
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we wrap up the session?
Yes, ma'am. We can.
Thank you, masters. We will meet next week. I hope you guys all have a good week, rest of the weekend and the following week. Thank you so much. See you next week. Thanks.
Yeah, you too, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend, everyone.